Most people can't finish this video, not because it's too long, because their mind will resist it. So if you stop watching, it means you're already controlled. Still here? Good. This video is not for everyone. It's a guided upgrade for those who want to become cognitively unreadable. A cold, emotionless thinker that can see patterns before they form. The next few minutes are going to challenge you, break you, and reconstruct you. You are entering the realm of emotionless intelligence. Proceed only if you're ready to burn your old self. The way you think isn't random, it's pre-programmed. Most people operate on a narrow bandwidth, following the same emotional loops, reacting to the same triggers, never questioning why. This isn't by accident. Your brain has been molded for predictability, for obedience, for patterns others can read and manipulate. But there's a fracture line, hidden beneath that programming, waiting to be cracked open. Dimensional cognitive restructuring is not a mental exercise. It's a system reset. To begin, you must first recognize that your thoughts are not your own. They are responses generated by conditioning. From birth, every emotional high and low was used to shape how your mind processes input. This creates a predictable human, a machine running in a loop. To restructure, you must detach from identity. Not kill it. Suspend it. Every thought you have is filtered through your idea of who you are. That's the trap. Identity creates boundaries, emotional reactions, and limits your capacity to process complex patterns. When you suspend it, the brain begins to reorganize itself. What emerges is not emptiness. It's clarity. Your cognition stops running in straight lines and begins forming webs, complex, multi-layered perspectives that operate outside emotion. You start recognizing emotional bait, social illusions, and manipulative cues in real time. This isn't intuition. It's design. The brain, once freed from identity and emotion, becomes a detection engine, capable of running simulations without noise. This shift doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. In a world ruled by chaos, being unreadable isn't a luxury, it's survival. Dimensional restructuring gives you that edge. But only if you're ready to think without feeling and see without reacting. This is where your real evolution begins. Forget everything you've read about self-improvement routines. This is not a morning habit. It's a psychological disintegration designed to destroy your default mind. For 7 days, you will shut down the thought patterns that have been running unchecked since childhood. You will interrupt your brain's programming and replace it, not with positive affirmations, but with calculated divergence. It begins with response interception. For every external trigger, a comment, a sound, a message, your brain fires a habitual response. Pause it. Feel the impulse to react, but don't obey. That hesitation creates a rupture in the script. And in that rupture, something new can form. Next is the divergent override. You will force your brain to produce 3 completely different thoughts from the one it automatically generates. Not random thoughts. Contradictory ones. If someone insults you, don't think of defending yourself. Think of silence, then of laughter, then of strategy. Force the brain to step outside its default lane. Then comes the hardest step, strategic replacement. You must choose one of the divergent thoughts, the one furthest from your usual behavior, and act on it. Not think about it. This single choice will short-circuit your emotional conditioning and begin installing a new operating framework. Do not skip these steps, and do not journal your feelings. This is not about understanding yourself. It's about outgrowing the version of you that was engineered by fear, approval, and routine. By day 4, you will feel mental fatigue. That's good. That's your old framework breaking. By day 6, you'll begin observing yourself as if from outside your own mind. That's when the reboot becomes irreversible. And on day 7, if you've followed without compromise, you'll notice the noise has quieted. Not because the world changed, but because you're no longer tuned into the frequency of chaos. 7 days is all it takes. If you go all in. If you don't, you'll return to the loop, just slightly more aware of your own prison. Forget everything you've read about self-improvement routines. This is not a morning habit. It's a psychological disintegration designed to destroy your default mind. For 7 days, you will shut down the thought patterns that have been running unchecked since childhood. You will interrupt your brain's programming and replace it, not with positive affirmations, but with calculated divergence. It begins with response interception. For every external trigger, a comment, a sound, a message, your brain fires a habitual response. Pause it. Feel the impulse to react, but don't obey. That hesitation creates a rupture in the script. And in that rupture, something new can form. Next is the divergent override. You will force your brain to produce 3 completely different thoughts from the one it automatically generates. Not random thoughts, contradictory ones. If someone insults you, don't think of defending yourself. Think of silence, then of laughter, then of strategy. Force the brain to step outside its default lane. Then comes the hardest step, strategic replacement. You must choose one of the divergent thoughts, the one furthest from your usual behavior, and act on it. Not think about it. This single choice will short-circuit your emotional conditioning and begin installing a new operating framework. Do not skip these steps, and do not journal your feelings. This is not about understanding yourself. It's about outgrowing the version of you that was engineered by fear, approval, and routine. By day 4 you will feel mental fatigue. That's good. That's your old framework breaking. By day 6, you'll begin observing yourself as if from outside your own mind. That's when the reboot becomes irreversible. And on day 7, if you've followed without compromise, you'll notice the noise has quieted. Not because the world changed, but because you're no longer tuned into the frequency of chaos. 7 days is all it takes. If you go all in. If you don't, you'll return to the loop, just slightly more aware of your own prison. There's a point in the process where thinking as you've known it must break. Not improve. Not evolve. Break. Cognitive fracture isn't spiritual. It isn't peaceful. It's violent, quiet, and necessary. You'll feel like you're losing control, because you are. Control is a product of identity, and identity is a cage. To fracture cognition, you must first become willing to dismantle the very way you experience thought. It begins by removing language. Every word is a preloaded concept. You're not thinking freely, you're rearranging cultural software. Stop narrating your thoughts. Watch them arrive. Observe them without naming them. You'll feel mental static. That's detox. Next, eliminate linear sequencing. Your mind follows lines because lines are safe. Beginning, middle, end. Break that. Start thinking in shapes, in loops, in scattered fragments. Let conclusions stay open. Let thoughts overlap. The discomfort is the system short-circuiting. Now release personalization. Stop inserting I into every mental file. Not, I feel anxious, but anxiety is present. Not, I'm failing, but failure has occurred. Detach from ownership of emotion and thought. They are not yours. They are experiences. Your identity is a temporary observer, not a source. When all 3 patterns, word dependence, linearity, and personalization, are disrupted, your mind won't feel like home anymore. That's when the fracture begins. You'll notice an eerie calm. Thoughts become distant. Time becomes less important. Emotional urgency fades. You are no longer reacting. You are scanning. You are processing. You are decoding. This is not enlightenment. This is the demolition of predictable cognition. From this state, new mental architecture can emerge. One that doesn't ask, doesn't assume, doesn't fear. It only observes, maps, and acts. Most people never reach this fracture. They stop when comfort is threatened. But you kept going. And now the question isn't, what do I think? It's, what is thinking when you are no longer human? Proceed carefully. You're no longer walking through thoughts. You're walking through systems. This is where most people fail, not because they're weak, but because they're still emotionally attached to being human. To complete this phase, you must enter a 72-hour lockdown. During this window, you're not allowed to emotionally react to anything. No joy, no rage, no fear. If emotion creeps in, isolate it, observe it, and neutralize it. You are no longer allowed to feel in the way you were trained to. Why 72 hours? Because that's how long it takes to recognize how deeply your thoughts are polluted by emotion. You'll begin to see that 90% of what you think isn't logic. It's narrative. It's interpretation, dramatized by feeling. Start with total emotional audit. Every thought you catch, ask, is this data or is this distortion? You'll be surprised how much of your internal dialogue is contaminated, built not from facts but from past wounds, expectations, and imaginary threats. Don't talk about how you feel. Don't journal it. Don't share it. Emotions want attention, that's how they survive. Instead, you'll isolate them like viruses. Trace each one back to its source, memory, belief, insecurity, and then cut the connection. You're not healing, you're severing. By the second day, you'll feel an eerie stillness. Not peace, absence. No rush to explain yourself. No need to be understood. No emotional obligation to respond to anything. This is not numbness. This is purification. On day 3, your body may resist. You may feel heavy, restless, or blank. That's the old emotional circuitry starving. Do not feed it. Observe it. Let it burn out. At the end of this purge, what remains is cognition without interference. Your mind becomes sharp, empty, cold, not dead but precise. And from that precision comes power. You are no longer a reactor. You're a processor. This is the part no one wants to talk about, because it forces you to become something unrecognizable. Not better. Not healed. But something far more dangerous. Something emotion can no longer predict or control. Once the purge is complete, the mind doesn't stay empty. It begins to rebuild, but not in the way you expect. This is not a return to who you were. This is the installation of a new mental architecture. Cold, structured, and without emotional dependency. The human brain is designed to protect. It builds patterns around fear, love, pain, pride. But now, with emotional coding stripped away, you're not building from survival. You're building from structure. The first upgrade is pattern compression. You no longer analyze situations in fragments. You absorb multiple variables at once and compress them into unified understanding. What would take others hours to process, you see in seconds. Because your mind is no longer waiting for emotional clarity, it just processes. Next is strategic scaling. Your thinking starts to operate at levels above your environment. While others see problems in isolation, you begin mapping systems, consequences, incentives, hidden intentions. It's like stepping above the chessboard and seeing the whole game at once. Then comes geometric cognition. Instead of thinking in cause-effect chains, you process in networks. Your mind forms mental blueprints, not sentences. This allows you to navigate chaos without reacting, because you're reading it like a diagram, not a threat. Finally, the most dangerous upgrade, detached precision. Every decision becomes calculated. No guilt. No emotional weight. You act because it's optimal, not because it feels right. You begin to see people as algorithms, not mysteries. Their patterns, desires, and contradictions become visible. This level of cognition isn't compatible with how most of the world functions. You'll seem colder, less relatable. People might say you've changed, and they'll be right. You're not decoding life emotionally anymore. You're running a different operating system. And with every upgrade, you become harder to read, harder to use, and impossible to manipulate. This is not intelligence as the world defines it. This is cognition without compromise. And once it activates, there's no turning back. The machine has begun to write itself. If you've made it this far, you're no longer an observer. You've entered a stage most people will never reach, and can never understand. This is the 30-day lockdown. And it's not a challenge. It's a transformation protocol. For the next 30 days, you will apply everything, ruthlessly. First rule, refuse predictability. If your thoughts follow a pattern, destroy it. No emotional replay. No mental rehearsals. The brain must be trained to choose logic over familiarity. Second, reframe structurally. Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what system created this result? Problems are never personal. They're structural weaknesses. Fix the system, not your feelings. Third, process geometrically. When faced with chaos, don't analyze it line by line. Build a mental model. See the structure behind the mess. Think like an architect, not a survivor. Fourth, maintain altitude. Never descend into low-level arguments, reactions, or emotional traps. Operate from a strategic view. Observe behavior like code, not attacks. In these 30 days, you will become unreadable. Your reactions, your rhythm, your entire cognitive presence will shift. People will sense it, but won't know what changed. That's the point. You won't need to prove anything. Your presence will speak in patterns. Your decisions will land before your words do. You won't be louder, you'll be quieter. And yet more dangerous. But here's the truth. This transformation isn't for everyone. Most people want clarity, but don't want to do what it takes to earn it. You've earned it. And if you're still watching, there's one thing left. Subscribe. Because this isn't a one-time shift. This is the beginning of a system most people will never see. And if you want to keep going, deeper, darker, sharper, then lock in. Hit that like button. Drop a comment. Phase 6 activated. And subscribe, not for content, but for calibration. This is not a channel. This is a system update. And your upgrade has just begun.